Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another Spooktober episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
That's right, everybody. It's Michelle as per usual.
Yeah.
You guys know the drill by now. We watch new and original releases from Shudder, the horror and horror adjacent streaming service, as I like to call it. I think we're going to start calling it the squelching streaming service.
That would be appropriate.
There's a lot of squelching.
So much squelching.
So what did we decide that we were doing for the month of October then, Michelle?
Well, for the month of October, I will make it quick in case people have listened to all 20 or however many episodes we have put out at this point. We always watch a horror movie every day in October, usually not the same movie, but a movie all the same. And since this was the first October happening since we created the podcast, we thought, hey, we love our peeps. Let's give them a podcast every day so that they can watch a horror movie every day and listen to our thoughts on it if they want to, or they could just listen to our thoughts. It doesn't matter. There are no rules.
Do we have thoughts, really?
I hope so, because we have recorded a lot of audio.
We sure have.
And if there were zero thoughts involved in that, I will leave my snarky comments to myself, but we'll just say it would be bad news.
Right on. So with that in mind, so we're picking up originals and exclusives from before we started the show. Which one are we talking about today, Michelle?
We're talking about a little feature called Psycho Goreman.
Okay, now here's the question I have for you right off the bat with Psycho Goreman. Everybody that I talk to about it calls it Psycho Goreman. The image on the website says Psycho Goreman. Everything says, but except when you look at the page, the title says PG Psycho Goreman.
I had literally never seen it referred to as that before seeing it on the Shudder website.
Somebody on the Shudder website needs to get their act together.
It's the same person who's making the spoiler-heavy images and
the
writing novels for descriptions. It's the same person just getting drunk and doing their job.
Speaking of the descriptions from the Shudder website, though, Michelle, you and I both, well, you of course are, but I am also already well aware that you're a big fan of this movie, and we're going to talk about that in detail. But why don't you read us the description of that film?
Absolutely, I would be honored. So this movie is called Psycho Goreman, directed by Steven Kostanski. We will get back to that. Mimi and Luke resurrect an alien overlord and, using the magical amulet they discovered, force him to obey their childish whims. It isn't long before intergalactic friends and foes converge in suburbia to battle for the fate of the galaxy. A Shudder exclusive.
Ooh.
JD, why don't you hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts?
My spoiler-free thoughts on Psycho Goreman. This was a fun one to come into because I actually tried watching this movie a couple of times when it was released originally last year, and I wasn't ever able to make it through it. One time I tried watching it way too late in the night times and I fell asleep, and then another time I don't know what was going on, but I also fell asleep. And I never was able to make it more than about 20 minutes into the movie, and I just never kind of came around and went back to it. And I'm here to tell you that was probably a big mistake on my part, because it turns out this movie is pretty all right. I wasn't blown away by it. It's a little sillier than I can take it all the way to the top on. But I had a good time with this movie. It was a lot of fun once we really got into the meat of it. I'm going to give it 3.5 skulls.
Okay, that is 3.5 skulls from my co-host, JD. All right, without further ado, my spoiler-free thoughts. This is, without a doubt, my favorite comedy horror of all time. And I do need to add a caveat, because I have friends listening going, Michelle, I thought Lost Skeleton of Cadavra was your favorite comedy horror. And no, it is not. You are not good friends. Lost Skeleton of Cadavra is my favorite B-movie, deliberate B-movie, comedy, sci-fi movie. Thank you for helping me rent out the theater to watch it for my 30th birthday. That was pretty rad. It would have been radder if Psycho Goreman existed and I made you all watch this gooey mess. I love this movie. Yeah, it's very squelchy. I love this movie. I have seen it multiple times. I was very excited when you said you had not fully seen it because it is my favorite comedy horror, without a doubt. 5 skulls out of 5.
Awesome. So 5 skulls and 3.5 skulls is 8.5, which brings us down on an average of 4.25 skulls. Did I do the math right there?
You did, and that's disappointing, but it's okay. 4.25 I can live with.
Yeah,
I can live with.
So those are our spoiler-free thoughts on Psycho Goreman. If you want to go watch the movie before we tear into it and talk about it in detail, what are they going to want to do right about now, Michelle?
They're going to want to pause, but then they're going to want to come back because, first off, if you haven't seen it, you should absolutely see it. You might not love it like I do, but I think if you're a horror fan and you expect the silliness that this movie delivers, then you're going to like it. So go check it out, then come back. Pause, right?
Right there. All right. So, Michelle, you love this movie, so I think what we should do is I should just talk a little bit about why I liked it but didn't quite over the top love it, and then I'm going to give you free reign to just unleash about what you love about this movie. How does that sound?
Whew, that sounds good.
Awesome. So yeah, this movie is super fun. It honestly reminded me initially of a couple of different things. It reminds me of fun old splattery trauma movies from the 80s. You know, your Class of Nukem High and Toxic Avenger and all that stuff reminded me a lot of that. It also, though, in no small part due to the fact that we just talked about the documentary about them just a few weeks ago, it also reminded me very much of the heavy metal band GWAR and that sort of over-the-top, absurd, just gory but silly and like people getting ripped apart but impossible to be horrified by it because it's so absurd. It's a lot of fun. It was very, very silly, very, very ridiculous. They definitely were more interested in having a good time than making sure everything made absolute sense, and I don't have a problem with that at all. It is a little bit more silly, honestly, than I really... there are a couple of moments where I was just like, all right, guys, you know, maybe our tongue is a little too firmly in cheek here. But overall, it was a really enjoyable experience. It's not one that I was so in love with that I'm going to go out of my way to find again. But I really did enjoy everything, especially once we got down to business in the like, say, the last hour or so of the 95-minute film. Probably my single favorite thing about the movie all the way across the board is that poor little boy who got turned into a giant brain. And that just, because the giant brain is just there for the rest of the movie, and everybody just accepts it. Nobody, like, it's never an issue. It's not a thing. There's just a little boy got turned into a giant brain, and that's just his life now. So I thought it was fun. It's campy and a good time, but it's a level of campy that kind of pushed it beyond what I can really put up as a classic film. But yeah, I liked it decently well enough. I can just feel the edge in your mind wanting to rip up, just not rip into me, but rip into why this movie is awesome. So I'm just going to shut up and let you go for a while. Tell people why you love this movie.
Okay.
I'm even going to put my microphone down.
Well, now it's going to be disappointing because now that I'm on the spot, my brain just goes like, what? I think it just like it perfectly, it's hilarious. And my complaint always with comedy horror is that it is good at one of those elements. It is not good at both of those elements. This movie is hilarious. And while it is not really scary, the things that it introduces are horrifying and things that I have not seen, or at least not seen very often. One of the very first like big horrific moments that happens is this guy, Psycho says to him, live forever, and his eyes start spinning in his skull, and he's just gonna be like that now. Yep. And then the kid comes in later and knocks into him accidentally, and as he's dying he says thank you, and that is a perfect element of something that is horrific, this idea of just being trapped in your own mind forever. And then oh, I tripped and now you're safe. Like that's just, it's such a perfect combination of those two things. I had heard an interview with Steven Kostanski, who is the guy who directed this. And first off, he sounds like a wonderful human being. If I ever get to meet him, hey, Steven, hit me up. But he said that the cop from this movie came from a short that he had released online called BioCop. And BioCop, if you have seen this movie and you enjoyed, you have to go see BioCop. It is a trailer about that cop who's undead and trying to solve a crime of drugs. And just, I could watch a full movie of that, and he just threw that guy in this movie. It's just so many fun ideas. And I knew that you had said that you had not fully gotten through it, but I knew that you were going to like it because he also created The Void, which I know you really like, from 2016.
Adore The Void. I did not know that this was the same guy who made The Void. Now I need to definitely look into this further. That's that doesn't surprise me, though. There are some amazing practical effects in this film. Again, that's probably why I liked The Brain Boy so much, is because it was just this hilarious practical effect. And that's I agree with you. It is very silly and ridiculous and fun.
And the practical effects, that is because he does makeup and prosthetic works for movies such as It, 2016 Suicide Squad, Hannibal, Todd and the Book of Pure Evil. These movies, and I guess show with Todd, are very practical effect heavy. And that's why this entire thing, just the costuming is so good. We haven't even gotten into the story where the girl is just a horrible, horrible gremlin of a child. And I think if they had...
worst.
Yeah, if they had made the children incredibly likable, this probably wouldn't have worked as well.
Right.
But it's because she is such a demon actually controlling another demon to the point where he's exasperated. There's also the line of, I don't care for hunky boys.
Yes.
Or do I? Like, there's just so many, like, human moments with this demon controlled by this little girl and this like tormented brother, the brain boy. Their parents hate each other and there's an actual battle between them, and then the whole thing, the climax is solved essentially by a game of kickball.
No, not kickball.
I know,
not
but I'm summing it up for
Michelle.
people who have not
Crazy
seen
ball.
it. I know
Crazy
it's
ball.
a crazier version. I don't understand the rules. I'm trying to do a dress-up montage with Psycho Goreman where he's wearing his hat that shows up in the poster before they play Crazy Ball with him, and then they are interrupted by cops, one of whom gets turned into an undead creature who keeps trying to kill himself with his gun that is morphed into his own hand and just stumbling along behind them. They're just, it's so many little, and like the whole you will die a warrior's death, no, not that, and it's like the worst thing, but he thinks it's an honorable thing. The blood flies everywhere. All the creatures that they involve in that fight in the middle of the woods, the ghost Japanese creature,
the alien warriors show up to fight Psycho Goreman. Those character designs were all so ridiculous.
Exactly. I think if this didn't have the character designs that Steven Kostanski was able to bring to it, it wouldn't have done so much. But there's just constantly so many little things going on, and every little detail was obviously added with love and with humor. Just anytime they have anything to work with, if they have a little line, you can tell they thought about that line and what is going to be the funniest line we can throw into this. And also, let's throw some horrific shit into it. Best horror comedy I've seen in my entire life. 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it definitely plays the silly game quite well. I agree with you. I really love the element of the human child being even more of a nightmare than the world-destroying alien overlord. I thought that was hilarious. I do want to point out that whoever's making these Shudder website descriptions, once again, this suggests that both of those children are behind what's going on with Psycho Goreman, saying they force him to obey their childish whims. Oh no, that young boy is her older brother is totally innocent in this. It is super silly and super fun. You know, I got to be honest with you. Maybe we've done this once or twice. Maybe a 3.5 was a little too low for this one. I'm gonna bump that up to a 4 skull, because the more I stop and think about this, the more I'm like, there really were a lot of really stupid little funny moments in here. So I can't.
Awesome.
I'm
happy with the 4.5.
I can't in right spirit give this a full 5, but yeah, it was fun. I think it's definitely a movie where, like, if somebody comes to me and says, I want to see a horror movie, this is not something that's going to jump to mind right away for me on that request. But if somebody did say, I want to see a horror comedy, this might jump to mind a lot more quickly. You know, it's almost like it reminded me so much of with the way a lot of the costumes for the aliens and monsters and whatnot were designed and executed. It reminded me as if, like, what I literally thought was, what if GWAR made Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
I had at least the Power Rangers thought, with them all sitting around, and she looks kind of like, oh God, why did I just forget his name? Zed, Zord, whatever. I was a huge
Zordon?
Power Ranger. No, not Zordon, the evil guy who
Lord
looks like
Zed.
he guys. Lord Zed, thank you. I kept trying to say Z because Z, Zed, and my brain just broke. I do have to say that I am not allowed to pick movies for movie nights with my friends very often, because I am a huge horror fan, and they are literally horrified by the idea of horror movies. So when I do get the opportunity, I go a little too hard, which is why I am not allowed to pick the movie very often. I usually pick whatever the scariest thing I can find is. Rachel basically, like, rolled off my couch in a horror while watching Host. I'm sorry, but I would also do it over in a heartbeat.
Oh, of course.
Psycho Goreman was one of my choices for friend night, and my friends who don't like horror movies were laughing their asses off, and I felt so proud. I felt like a proud parent who had raised them from tiny babies to appreciate this movie.
Yeah, and it definitely does succeed there in being so ridiculous, like I said, that like, I almost feel wrong calling this a horror movie, right? You definitely have to, because of all the corpses and splatter and guts
It's very
and gore.
gory and squelchy.
Yeah, it's a mess of a movie, but at no point are you intended to be afraid, and at no point do I think you're even intended to be grossed out, or maybe just a little bit.
Oh, I was definitely
But-
grossed out.
Really?
I absolutely was. Yeah.
Okay,
the
maybe
warrior's death, where there's blood flying everywhere. I'm not a gore fan. This literally has gore in the title. It is full of a lot of gore, and I still love it that much. It is very gory, but I also have a very low threshold for gore, and this still is my favorite comedy horror. And I think that's why it hits the horror element so hard for me, is because I hate gore, and it still has it.
It's super, super, super well done in that sense. So, I think if you're specifically looking for something that's just ridiculous and splattery and fun, this would definitely be a good choice.
Yeah, and subject your friends to it just to watch the reaction and report back, because I'm curious if it was just my friend group that has finally tolerated enough of my nonsense to enjoy this, or if other people who don't like horror are going to enjoy it.
And
this makes me belly laugh. I love this movie.
And side note, by the way, if once you've seen Psycho Goreman, because Michelle brought it up, definitely go back and see The Void as well.
Which I did not like as much, but I know you really like, and it did have a very good ending.
The Void is one of my favorite horror films of the last 10 years. I thought it was super, super, super good.
So this is a case of our interests kind of overlapping and yet still being different, because
still
the things that we
diverging,
like from both, we
It's
just
very
can't
much
agree.
It's very much a weirdly shaped Venn diagram.
Yep. With the warrior's death right in the middle.
Right in the middle, you'll die of warrior's death.
So good.
I also love, I do find myself wondering if this PG Psycho Goreman thing, like if somebody thought that was supposed to be some kind of like a play on E.T., because I do love also how this very much plays like, it's like E.T., but what if E.T. was a psychotic alien warlord who ripped people to shreds, and there's the whole emotional, oh, please, I don't want you to go, and then he has to go home, and it was like a little girl losing her puppy kind of a moment at the end. It was pretty great.
Yeah. No, this movie is perfection, and I love it. And you should check out. Why would you listen this far? How would you get through my rant and be like, oh, I'm still not going to pause it, and I will let it be ruined? How would you listen to all of that and not experience? What is wrong with you? Message us if that's you, and explain yourself.
For sure. We got we still got a few Spooktober episodes to come, you guys. We've got just a little bit of the month left. I want to thank you for sticking around and paying attention to these episodes. If you like gooey, splattery, squelchy comedy fun, check out Psycho Goreman. Michelle, what are the plugs? We should do some plugs before I say goodbye.
We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Hopefully by the time this episode has come out, I have convinced JD to do some of the choreographed TikTok routines I am going to plan for him.
We'll see about that. And they're all just at We Watch Shudder, right?
Yep. We Watch Shudder was not taken. We're so lucky.
We're good. Pretty sure we're the only entirely devoted to Shudder podcast maybe in the world.
That's probably true. Hopefully we'll have some t-shirts and stickers in circulation by the time this comes out. Hopefully we have just done the wrestling show the week before this comes out. We've got a lot of cool stuff in our future, and who knows what that will look like. Maybe the world won't even exist by the time this comes out on October 22nd.
Hard to say. We'll find out together. Let's all find out together, right, Michelle? Let's all find out together. Check all that stuff out, guys. Keep listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.